Why don't we just start, Brad? Let's dig right in, and we'll go alphabetically as we usually do. The 2019 Dallas Cowboys, high level, Brad. What were your impressions of the Cowboys this year?
I don't think they know exactly what they're doing, right? I don't think they know who they are, and I don't know if they know what they want to be, right? And They got this guy that runs the ball real aggressively. He's fantastic, and Dak should be good enough, but they're just – you know what? I have a suspicion that maybe they're overrated. Do you think that we could be overrating their talent?
I don't know that they're overrated. I always felt like they were properly rated. Well, I think their defense last year, at least in terms of how they performed, I think their defense must have been overrated because, once, Sean Lee kind of fell off and Van Der Esch gets hurt, all of a sudden they kind of have like a weaker defense. And they're not even, I wouldn't call them weak necessarily. They just didn't play up to standards. And when you're battling with, the entire NFC West, we're talking about to get to the Super Bowl, the entire NFC West at this point, outside, I guess, Arizona, and the New Orleans Saints, and you got now the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, who both have shown that they could make a deep playoff run. Dallas is... They're just not good enough to compete with them on that level, or at least they weren't in 2019. And I don't... Go for it. No, go for it.
Maybe it's possible that they have a lot of talent on that team, but the problem is the quarterback. Maybe he is not as good as anyone would assume, right? And maybe that he's been successful because he's had this team around him. Just speculating. Okay,
so that's a great point. Now, I've been saying for... I guess 2 years. This was my big criticism, fantasy football wise, in the draft guide last year about Dak Prescott, and 2 years ago, and I'm not going to say that I saw the shift in the NFL coming, but what I did see, and I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. What I did see is Dak Prescott is. Look, he's an ascending quarterback. I think you and I, if you look at the stats, you can agree with that, right? And Colin Cowherd, who we both watch, he's like, he's the grown-up, but Colin Cowherd will go back on him, week in and week out. He'll go back and forth on him. Right, and I think a lot of people do, even Cowboys fans, I think, to be fair, would do the same thing. But I felt Dak Prescott, he's got to use his legs, right?
Yeah, right. I don't see that a lot from him.
Right, and he has the ability.
I don't know if he's fast. Is he fast?
I know he ran a little bit in college, but I think when he got to the NFL, everybody wants to make him a pocket passer, and that is and again, as a guy who, it's probably cut off on our split screen here, but as a guy who rooted, if you can see behind me, the Redskins helmet there, rooted and grew up rooting for the Redskins until about the Kirk Cousins contract situation. I said, you know what, I've had enough. Enough is enough of this crap franchise. It reminds me a lot of RG3 and the Redskins, where RG3, after that rookie year, he comes back in, and he's like, I'm a pocket passer now. It's like, are you? You're not. Now, Dak Prescott's a way better passer than RG3 ever was and ever will be. But my thing is, we've seen, Brad, the NFL has shifted, and with these young guys coming in ready to play, and there's a valid argument to see a rookie quarterback still in his quarterback still in his rookie deal. That's your Super Bowl window if the team is good. Once you extend them and that eats up cap space, things get a little bit weird. And so Dak Prescott, what teams in the NFL, throughout the NFL, and we saw it notably in Baltimore and Buffalo last year, they let their quarterbacks use their athleticism, and it opens things up down the field. And Dallas has shown, and I don't know if it's Dallas or Dak, I'm not, as dialed into that franchise as maybe I would be as an ex-Redskins fan. I'd probably be a little bit more dialed into him if I still rooted hard and hated Dallas like I did back in the day. But whatever it was, wherever it was an unwillingness to have Dak Prescott use his legs and leave himself open to hits. And that's what makes Russell Wilson so magical. That's honestly what makes Aaron Rodgers so magical, although he never gets hit. Russell Wilson never gets hit. It's what scares me a little bit about Lamar Jackson, although he was fine this year. And Josh Allen, we've seen now the injuries are catching up with Cam. I get it. But the rest of the NFL is going towards mobile quarterbacks, and Dallas went away at the exact, in my opinion, wrong time, and I think that's cost them.
Do you think maybe it was Jason Garrett? Because he shouldered a lot of the blame.
Now,
could he not be the type of guy that it seems like he's a very likable coach. I mean, I don't imagine he's a dim dim-witted man, right?
He went somewhere in Ivy League. Was it Harvard? I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, Garrett,
Did he go to an Ivy League school?
I believe he went to Harvard. I could be wrong on that, but he was an Ivy League guy. Not that I give a crap about that. Who cares?
Yeah, me too.
Who cares about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever met somebody from Harvard and was like, oh my God, oh, you're so smart. You went to Harvard. Like, I give a crap.
I've never met anyone from Harvard. They usually don't let me around those types.
You know what? You're better off for it. Anyway, no, like, I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Like, the mystique of these Ivy League schools, I don't care. Does that make him a better head coach? Well, I think he had the best offensive line in football for a couple years. I think he had a running back in Ezekiel Elliott that he didn't utilize enough. I think he had a quarterback whose athleticism he couldn't figure out how to utilize. I pin all of the blame on Jason Garrett. And, well, I shouldn't say all of the blame, because Jerry Jones knew he hired a quote-unquote a B, not an A guy. He hired a B guy.
Yeah, I kind of have this feeling that if you replaced what the hell is it? I just blanked. The coach of the Cowboys, Garrett. If you replace Garrett with someone like Sean Payton, that'd be a much different team, right? I imagine Sean Payton would run in there and know exactly, like, that's what he does well. He knows exactly how to use everybody he gets. Right?
Yeah, but and Sean Payton's going to get all of the credit, and Jerry can't handle it, and that's where this franchise is. That's where this franchise is. They should have fired Garrett after, because Romo, they were going crazy on Romo when they had a strong running. Like, they've had the ability to lead the league in rushing for years, but they went away from it. And now I think what's happened is the personnel and the schemes of the NFL have shifted more towards mobile quarterback and all that stuff. And I don't think that, I think the Cowboys zigged when everybody else zagged at the exact wrong time, and we're kind of seeing these repercussions. Now, that's not to say they don't have a lot of talent. But what I'm curious about, and you being an ex-Packers, not an ex-Packer, you're still very much a Packers fan, but having a lot of experience with McCarthy there, that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around is, what is Dak Prescott in this system going to do? Like, what's McCarthy going to do? I know he's been, like, in a barn somewhere learning schemes and all this stuff. How do you see that translating, man? Because it's not, you can't replicate Aaron Rodgers in the Packers,
my instinct is to say it's not going to go great. I think it's going to be a little bit lame. I think it's not going to, I just don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be very dynamic, to be honest. I just don't. And that's my instinct.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to be, there's going to be much firepower there. Now, do they have to pay Dak this year?
Yes, they do. They do. I believe,
okay, well, so that's going to be a problem, is it not? I mean, how many of those guys are going to leave? I hope they send Amari Cooper to Green Bay.
Well, he's unrestricted, so he could be out there.
Right.
The only guy who's really under contract at this point is Elliott, and that's another big question I have. Is everybody's like, oh, Zeke is the greatest, Zeke is the best running back, and you can make that argument. You plug him in on another team. You plug him in right now on the LA Rams. Maybe they don't, run away from the run game like they did last year. But, what's McCarthy going to do? Like, he ignored the run. Is that because he had Aaron Rodgers, world-beating quarterback, or is that because he just doesn't like to run the ball? Because we saw...
Well, that's a great question.
And Jason Garrett, his resume is the same thing. He moves away from the run game way too early, and that's a Jason Garrett thing. I mean, it could be preference or whatever, but that's his resume. Now, maybe with the skill set, McCarthy will react to that. Honestly, I don't know, and I'd have to go back into his pre-Packers days and kind of dig in to his resume as a play caller and all that stuff. And you know how those Packers teams were constructed. It was all Favre and it was all Rodgers. Well, now will McCarthy say, hey, we have this great offensive line, and they might lose a piece or two from that, mind you, this year.
Right.
And we have Ezekiel Elliott under contract. Let's make this a run team, run to open up passing lanes. And I think that's the recipe for success. And I would say, yeah. And let me throw this comparison out for you. It just came to my head. How similar were the 2019 Cowboys and putting all that stuff onto Dak Prescott's shoulders? How similar was that to the 2019 Cleveland Browns and what they did for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, very similar, right? Similar results as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it didn't hit expectations, and it is what it is. So, for me, I always like to look forward and all this stuff, but I have more questions than answers at this point. I've already, with the fantasy football almanac and all that stuff that I do, I've got the stats down, but I need to see how this personnel is going to translate to McCarthy, and I need to know what he's been doing the last year or so. So, I'm a little bit out on that, but I mean, like the jury's still out on it for me. I do think McCarthy is an upgrade at the head coaching position, but he also had the benefit of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, he did. That is true.
And now he has Dak Prescott, who I don't dislike, but let's roll him out of the pocket a little bit more, for crying out loud.
Well, it'd be something to see McCarthy get everything out of Prescott, right?
It would be.
Fun.
It would be. It would be fun. It'd be good for the NFL.
It would be.
It would be profitable for the NFL. Not that I care either way about the franchise, and I don't hate them anymore. Because they make me money every now and then. Hey, man, I bet on the Cowboys to beat up on the Redskins, and I made some money, so I like that.